face, her hair, her curves, perfect tits. But it went beyond all that physical shit, really. I mean, there's this ridiculously sparkling personality. And, she was capable of kicking back and drinking beers with the boys. It was perfect. I never really believed in perfection until I met her. You would have loved her too. But that's the thing, everybody did love her. I mean, I don't know if they loved her the way that I loved her, but they definitely showed interest. I remember hanging out with her once, and this chucklehead pushes right by me to get to her because of course I'm inconsequential. It's long enough to tell her that she's so hot that she's probably the cause for global warming. Now, as environmentally aware as this douchebag was, I still wanted to uppercut his chin clean to the top of his skull. But that's not how Mackenzie handled it. She told him she loved to go out with him, but she simply just couldn't go anywhere with this new state of environmental guilt that he placed her in. The guy definitely felt like a doofus, I'm sure, but he wasn't devastated or anything, but that was just kind of Mackenzie's tact, you know? She could make a fuck you sound like it belongs in a greeting card. And that kind of shit happened all the time with her. That's probably why it was so hard for me to tell her how it really felt. I mean, after 8 years of friendship, can you believe that? 8 fucking years. 2 leap days included. And I can't once muster up the grapefruits to let her know how I actually feel. In a way, I guess I kind of admired those douchebags. They at least tried. As much as I wanted to personally beat the hell out of each and every one of them, I had to respect their willingness to try. Well, most of the time she would just brush them off. But sometimes, every once in a while, she'd see something in one of these jerk-offs and they would date for a month or two. And ultimately, she'd end up crying to me on the phone, or at a bar, or at this crap hole diner that we love to go to, about how all guys are fucking assholes. And then she'd ask me why that is. And I would say, I don't know. But she goes, well, you're not an asshole. What's up with that? How come more guys can't be like you? And I'm thinking to myself, if you fucking realize that, then why don't you do something about it? But that's not what I would actually say. In reality, I would sit there and I would play that same chicken shit role, and I would rub her shoulders and I would dry her cheeks, and I'd tell her that everything's gonna be fucking okay. And if people didn't see that she was fucking amazing, then they were fucking idiots, hands down. And I always hoped that maybe just once she could hear those words the way that I really meant them. But she didn't see me as a potential partner. She saw me as her bestest friend in the whole wide fucking world, her words. She saw me as a fucking girlfriend. I don't think she was about to dyke it out with me. And don't get me wrong, like I pulled my fair share of ass or whatever. It was fine, I dated. And Mackenzie would evaluate him and tell me how much she loved him or hated him, you know, whatever, depending on the situation. But for every girl I was with, I had to picture Mackenzie in my head every time just to make it fucking work. And I think it's sick. I call it devotion. I wanted to try the real thing. I wanted to let Mackenzie know that she had become the sole reason for my existence. And that I wasn't gonna stop until we were together like I knew we were supposed to be. But I just couldn't do it. I knew she'd tell me that she didn't want to ruin our friendship or something to that effect. I mean, I never really asked her, but I've heard the stories before. Anyway. So one day, she meets this particularly douche-like entity by the name of Chuck. Athletic asshole. Played football for our university. I don't know what position, even though Mackenzie told me about a bajillion times, I just didn't fucking care to remember. She took a shining to him for some reason, and they started dating. So in my head, I'm thinking, oh, this is just, you know, business as usual. She'll be over this in a couple months. She'll be come crying to me just like always, blah, bitty, blah, blah. And a couple weeks passed, and they were still together. And she had never looked any happier in her whole fucking life. And it was nuts, and I didn't get it. And the guy was a fucking idiot, a bona fide moron. I don't know what kind of bullshit he was feeding her, but she was eating every single bite and asking for more. She'd ask me to go to these football games with her, and she'd sit in the stands and wave, and he'd look up and he'd blow kisses, and it was just so great, and I got sick to my goddamn stomach the entire fucking time, and she would nudge me in the ribs, and she would ask me these questions like, isn't he sweet, and isn't this perfect? I just wanted to grab her by the shoulders and tell her that's not fucking sweet, it's fucking sour is what it is. It's not fucking perfect either. What would be perfect would be being you, but you got your perfect little head, so you fire up his perfect little ass to fucking understand that. But I didn't say that. I didn't say anything. I just sat there and I smiled and I nodded and I sat on my hands and I puked in my fucking mouth because I knew that it wasn't gonna last. It couldn't last. It wasn't fair. So those weeks turned into months, and those months turned into an entire year, and I still had no goddamn clue what was happening. It really didn't help that the phone calls had diminished to my birthday and fucking party invitations that I didn't even want to go to in the first place. You know, football team parties, a bunch of bimbo butt sluts running around looking for pieces of athletic ass. There's me in my SpongeBob shirt looking like a complete toolbox. I just didn't really have a place there. They knew I was Kenzie's friend, which they started calling her, which I fucking hated. So they didn't kick me out. She'd come greet me at the door with a big hug, and she'd kiss me on the cheek. And then she'd go run away to get drunk with Chuck. And I would leave the parties early. And she never called the next day to find out why. You know, and after a while, I didn't care that she didn't call. It didn't faze me. If she wanted to throw out 8 years of the most caring relationship she could ever have in her life, all for some dude, then so be it. I wondered why, though. Why Chuck the motherfuck? He wasn't more attractive than me. He had the personality of a wet sock. I mean, why him? He wasn't kind, he wasn't sensitive, he wasn't caring. He wasn't any of that shit that Mackenzie told me she wanted in a guy. He was a total fucking opposite. Why couldn't she see that? I told myself she would, though. One day she'd see it. He would do something to make her cry harder than she ever had before. And then she would come back to me, and I would tell her that I was perfect for her. And she'd have this huge fucking realization that I was right the entire time. And then they would make a fucking Lifetime movie about it, only not as gay. And I got a phone call one day, a call from Mackenzie, and I was all fired up and I was ready to give my speech, but she was doing all the talking. She had told me that Chuck had asked her to marry him, and she said yes, and I threw up in a nearby trash can. She asked if I was okay, and I just told her that I drank a lot the night before, and that simply wasn't true. And that's when my heart stopped. It didn't stop beating, it just stopped caring. My feelings for Mackenzie just died on impact. I mean, if she was gonna be this ignorant of a bitch to want to marry this motherfucker, then there's no way that she's the same girl that I wished up and down on so many shooting stars as she really was. Fuck her. I didn't need her. But then, she asked me to be her maid of honor. What? Maid of honor? I'm a fucking dude, Mackenzie. I'm not your maid of honor. She knew it wasn't traditional to put a dude in that sort of position, but she told me she cared about me so much that she needed me by her side. And that's when I hung up the phone. And that's when my heart started beating again. But this time not with love, but with hatred. Hatred for what everything had become. hatred for things that hadn't come at all. So I bought a gun. They told me I'd have to wait 3 days in case I was, you know, acting out of rage or something like that. Too bad they didn't make me wait 8 years, because maybe things could have been different. But I waited those 3 days, and my heart was still pumping hatred. So I went to Chuck's apartment. And I knocked on Chuck's door. And I shot that motherfucker directly in the face. So I just got off the phone with Mackenzie. I told her everything. I told her how I love her, and told her how she's ridiculous, and oh yeah, I told her that I killed her fiance. Told her where I am right now, and if she could find some time out of her busy schedule, I'd really love to see her again. She was a bit hysterical, but you know, I don't think I'm such a bad guy. I mean, Mackenzie made it really fucking hard on me, but I'm gonna make it really easy for her. And I guess that's my cue.